Hey everybody, it's Hannah here from Moto North Van. It is a little after 8 p.m. on Thursday night. Those of you who are tuning in live, hi! Sorry I'm a couple minutes late getting going here. I wanted to make sure I had the space set up for our practice. Great to see you all tuning in. And if you're watching this after the fact, welcome also. This is going to be a yin practice. So yin, for those of you who may not be familiar, is a slower moving practice. It's much more focused on stillness than our more active strength and stability building practices. Yin offers the opportunity to come into a shape, often with support, to hold that shape in softness, so with release without engaging your muscle tissues for longer periods of time. And by holding the poses in that way with appropriate support, coming just to the first edge of sensation, we're targeting deeper connective tissues within the body. So one key principle in yin, given that we're holding postures without muscular engagement and for longer periods of time, is that it's really important not to move past that first edge of sensation quickly, and definitely not to move into anything that feels painful. And pain could sometimes manifest as burning, searing, tingling sensations. Just anything that feels kind of uncomfortable, sudden, or really intense. In general, we want to stay away from in yin. One of the unique challenges of teaching through this medium is that I'm not in the room with you. So if you have a question or something's not feeling right, it's not quite as simple as me seeing you in the space and being able to offer that immediate support. I'll do my best to speak to different options as we move through the sequence. But just feel empowered, maybe even more so than you might in the studio, to trust the wisdom of your body. If something hurts, back off. Add support when you need. So I've got some yoga blocks here. I'll be using them through practice. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. You can use heavy books. You can use a water bottle to rest your hands on. You can use a pillow underneath a knee. The great thing about home practice is that you can use what you have around you. So as we go, just grab what you need to feel supported. All right, let's get started. So make your way towards your mat if you're not already there. And if you don't have a mat, that's okay. The great thing about yin is that as long as you're comfortable, whether you're on the floor, on a blanket, on the carpet, heck, even on your couch, you can follow along and enjoy the benefits of this style of practice. So making your way towards your practice space, we're going to start with a little active release for the soles of our feet. So I'm going to turn my feet towards you so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to sit onto your shins, like so. Bring your hands forward. Tuck your toes underneath you. Do your best to keep your feet as close together as feels comfortable. And then you're going to ease your body back towards your heels. Now I'll turn to face this way. So toes tuck under, gently sitting back towards the heels. You might start to feel some sensation traveling up the soles of the feet. Now, if you're working with any injuries or sensitivities in your feet, this might not feel safe for you. You can always keep your hands rooted. For some folks, even having the toes tucked under and gently pressing the weight of the body back a little bit is enough to open up the soles of the feet. You could also have some height in front of you that you're resting your hands on. Right? And this is a way to tailor the pose for your body so that you feel some sensation of opening without it being excruciating, sharp, or unsafe for you. And as you arrive at that place of sensation, taking the time you need to settle in, you can feel welcome to close your eyes if that's helpful, to find some deep breaths. And just to tune in to whatever sensations are present for you right now. There are lots of bones in our feet, lots of little muscles, connective tissues. We stand on our feet often, quite a bit throughout the day. We use our feet to run, to dance, to ride bicycles, to drive. So this shape might feel a little bit intense. And remember, if it starts to feel too intense, you can adjust the physical shape for sure. Bring yourself to a place of more ease. But maybe the intensity you're experiencing is more a mental sharpness, some anxiety or annoyance, or just a general feeling of restlessness within stillness. And that might be an opportunity to just be curious about that feeling or thought that's coming up. And practicing stillness, practicing being with what arises. Remembering always, if you absolutely need to, you can for sure adjust, come out, move. But if it feels safe to sit alongside that discomfort for a little while longer, return to your breath, you might discover some resiliency, which we could all use a little bit more of right now. Soften your teeth inside your mouth. Take a couple more deep breaths. This is my favorite part of this shape. When you're ready to release, walk your hands back to the ground in front of you. Untuck your toes. I'll move here so you can see what I'm doing. You can either pat the tops of your feet lightly into the floor or press the tops of your feet into the floor. And just feel a nice release as you let that shape go. All right. From here, from this tabletop position, step your right foot forward between your hands. Okay? Kneeling is not the best for everybody's knees. So if your left knee, which is on the floor, feels a little bit tender, first things first, you could walk that knee back a bit so you're more on the bottom of your thigh than on your kneecap. You could fold your yoga mat underneath, or you could grab a cushion, a blanket, a rolled up towel, just something you have on hand to provide a little bit of padding. Okay, from here, you're gonna walk your right foot out. Take your hands to the inside. Now you'll see I'm making fists. This is a nice option if your wrists are a little bit tender. If you feel a bit too close to the floor, if the sensation in the front of your left hip and thigh area is pretty intense, again, some height, whether it's a yoga block or whether it's something else, even the edge of a chair to rest your elbows on can be really nice for dragon pose. This pose, similar to the first one, targets an area of the body where sensation can sometimes be a little bit intense. So you want to be kind to yourself within that experience. You don't have to go all the way to the very edge of sensation. You can start with a little bit less, knowing that we're going to be here for some time, and gradually explore more depth if it feels appropriate. Back toes could be tucked under if that feels preferable in your body. Right? And over time, if you're feeling a little bit unsteady on your hands, as I mentioned before, you can rest your forearms on something. So whether that's the edge of a chair, whether you're using blocks or books, and you want to settle your forearms onto those surfaces. Coming onto forearms can be a nice way to just take some pressure off the wrist joints. So we're primarily targeting here the front of the left hip. You might feel some sensation through your right inner hip as well. And depending upon what works for you, you can angle that front foot a little more outward on a diagonal. You could even roll to the outer edge of that front foot, so letting your knee wing out a bit. Just pay attention as you explore these little changes, if you explore them. Notice what kind of impact it has on your experience within the pose. If something feels like it's offering space, offering ease, stay with it. And if you try something and it separates you from your breath or doesn't feel so great, you can always go back to what you were doing before. Try to soften through the muscles of your bum if you notice some reflexive engagement there. Now, this isn't an active lunge, so not like a lunge we might do in a moto practice. Here in yin, we're letting gravity take the weight of our bones and draw us gently down towards the floor. For some reason though, even though this isn't even a hot practice when we're in the studio, I always sweat buckets in yin. Fun fact about me. Find a few more breaths here. And there's never any rush to exit a pose. If I'm offering movement and you're feeling really good where you are, you can take more time. Catch up when you're ready. If you have lowered down onto your forearms, start by coming onto your hands on the floor so you're nice and stable. Shift any blocks or props out of your way. Inch your front foot back inside. And let's send the right knee back alongside the left so we're in tabletop once more. You can rock your hips from side to side. Find some gentle movement, some space between shapes. You might even want to tuck your toes and send your hips high for a downward facing dog. It might feel nice to pedal out through your feet, lifting and lowering your heels a couple times. Okay, from here, knees return to your mat or the floor. Come to sit on your bum. So we're going to make our way into a release for the outer right hip, deer pose. I like to come into it from seated. It feels a little bit more stable through my hips, knees, and low back. Take this at your own pace, right? So you're going to shift onto your right hip so that your right shin is sort of parallel to the front edge of your mat, or where your mat would be if you were on one. And then your left shin tucks in alongside you. So roughly speaking, you're making two 90-degree angles. Now this back leg, your left leg, might be a little further back behind you, especially if there's any tenderness or discomfort through the top of your left hip. Just move that block out of the way. Try drawing your left knee in a little closer. Orient your torso over your front shin. Hands come down. Now again, down is relative, so you might have your hands on some height. We're targeting here the outside of your right hip. You might feel some sensation down the outside of your thigh as well. Again, it really just depends on your body, your anatomy, what's going on today. It might feel better to stay more upright if you're feeling a nice release through your outer hip area. You could also play with folding forward, right? Forward folds are nice to do in the evening. They tend to be a little more calming for the nervous system. But even a gentle incline of your chin towards your chest, a rounding through your upper back and neck, that is a kind of forward fold. So if it only feels comfortable to let your head hang a little bit, that's okay. Play with that. Forward folds are great poses in yin. Just keep circling back to what you feel in your body, moment by moment. Sometimes that first point of sensation kind of shifts as the body settles, as it gives into gravity. So you may find, as I'm finding right now, that over time, there's room to lower further. That may not be the case for you today, and that's totally fine. But if your body is giving you the green light to move more towards sensation, you can explore that for sure. It can be really nice to rest your forehead on something. Maybe that's a yoga block or a book or a cushion. Maybe it's your stacked fists. They are a great prop. And let your eyebrows unfurrow. And try to soften the back of your throat. Maybe your nose starts running. That's normal. A couple more deep breaths. Offering your body the gift of stillness, support, patience. Ready to move, root down through your hands first. Slowly inch your way away from the floor. Shift aside any props you may have been using. Slide your feet out in front of you. Give yourself a squeeze around both knees. Shift your feet to your right. Come back into a tabletop shape. Adjust your yoga mat if it's getting caught up on your carpet. And we'll do that little sequence on the other side. So shift your left foot forward between your hands, setting up dragon pose. As we move on to the second side, it's great to just be aware of how the sides of your body may be different. Whether you know that one side you have an injury or a sensitivity, maybe there's something you always kind of have to work around or accommodate. Maybe today, for whatever reason, you're just noticing a little more tension on one side than you did on the other. So not feeling the need to exactly replicate what you did on the first side is my point. Hands to your inner left foot, so you inch your left foot a little wider. Remember to cushion your back knee as you need. I always recommend starting more lifted. So maybe tonight for you, that means being lifted up onto blocks or some other source of height. Again, we're really only looking for subtle sensation. So if there's already something going on through the front of your right hip, this might be where you stay, no problem. You're practicing in the privacy of your own space. One of the really nice things about that is that you can sigh, you can hum, you can yawn, you can roar, you can make the sound effects you've always wanted to make in a yoga studio but haven't ever quite felt courageous enough to do. The space to play Again, with changing the orientation of your spine relative to your legs. For some folks, coming down onto forearms offers something. Try to let go of the idea that more depth, as we may perceive it in terms of what the shape looks like, is somehow better. And that just isn't the case. If you're feeling sensation, the shape you're in is just right. You might turn your front foot out, play with rolling to the outer edge. That feels a little bit spicy in my left inner hip on this side, so I'm gonna not do that this time. Again, just paying attention to those differences from side to side and saying yes to your body rather than trying to finagle it into a shape that it doesn't want to be in. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. Try to feel the heaviness of your pelvis melting towards the floor. Sorry, I'm so sniffly. I had a nice big cry this afternoon. Maybe some of you can relate. So my nose has been running ever since. And working into the subtle tissues of your body might elicit some emotional responses as well as physical and mental responses. So again, just know that you're held. It's okay to have the experience you're having. Try to resist the urge to fly out of the pose. Give yourself some time to gradually lift up. Shift any props aside that you were using. I'll put them both on the same side. Inch your front foot back inside your hands. Send your left knee back alongside your right. It might feel nice to shake it out a little bit, to rock through your hips. Or to tuck toes, send your hips high. Take a nice big full stretch for your back body in down dog. Okay, return your knees to your mat or the floor. Sit onto your bum. We'll come into deer pose on the left side. So from seated, you're going to shift more onto your left hip. Left shin parallel-ish to the front edge of your mat. Right knee tucked in, or right shin, pardon me, tucked in somewhere to your right side. I'll shift this way just so you have a visual if you're a visual person. So you're making these two roughly 90-degree bends, but as I said on the first side, your back leg might be oriented a little further back or a little further forward. You want to find a sweet spot where you're not feeling any pinching through your outer right hip. And target area is the general left hip glute area. You might find that sensation more upright, right? So hands to the floor in front of your shin. And over time, you may find space to explore a forward fold. I didn't mention this on the first side, but I'll mention it now. You can also play with the angle of your torso. So for some folks, being more oriented away from your foot works. You might play with turning your torso towards your foot as you fold. You can give that a try as well. Bring that into the mix. And Once you've found the place where it feels like you can settle, really let yourself settle. Create the conditions so that you can be still. Whatever that means for you. Does it mean finding a humming kind of exhale, taking some sighs? Does it mean closing your eyes or propping your forehead on something? Whether it's a block, a cushion, or stacked fists. Just reinforcing that feeling that you are supported. That your body is held. And that you can allow yourself to be held, to access this support. If your attention has wandered off, just gently welcome it, back to your breath. Or an awareness of all the points of contact between your body and the floor. Something that will draw you back into the here and now. The support and safety of this moment. Last few full breaths here. When you're ready to begin your exit, do so slowly. Inch your body away from the floor. Shift aside any props you may have been using. Come to sit on your bum. Draw your knees in and give yourself a squeeze. All right. So from here, we're going to make our way onto our backs. You'll want to be able to see me as I explain the next shape. And you also are going to need some source of support for underneath your spine. So if you have a yoga block, use that. If you don't, a book, like a hardcover maybe, that's about this size, wrapped in a towel or a blanket just to kind of soften the edges a bit, is a really nice kind of makeshift yoga block for the purposes of this pose. This is supported fish. So supported fish, I'll just turn away from the camera so you can see the placement of the block. As we lay onto our backs, we're placing the block about here, right? So that the mid-spine, the midsection of the chest is lifted. This is a really nice opening for the front ribs, the diaphragm, the lungs, the heart area. So that's the rationale for having the height that's a bit sturdy, as it helps lift the chest away from the floor. So position your prop. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get the placement just right. And come to lie onto it. Hopefully you can kind of see that. So the bottom tips of my shoulder blades are just sort of spilling over the block's edge. I feel like an opening through the front of my rib cage, but it doesn't feel clunky or uncomfortable. I have my feet on the floor to start, which is a really nice way to kind of control the intensity here. I have my hands on my ribs just to sort of feel the movement of my breath. You might just want to spend a little bit of time here kind of settling into that breath movement. And let your throat be open. If it feels uncomfortable for your neck to have your head kind of below your ribs this way, you could add some height like a cushion under your head just to alleviate that tenderness. All right, the option to bring the soles of your feet together, let your knees fall open so your legs are in like a butterfly shape. And again, you can always position support underneath your knees if that's needed to help lessen any strain on your hips or low back. And final option, you might experiment with taking your arms overhead in a diamond shape, mirroring what your legs are doing. In doing that, you'll probably notice some sensation of opening across your armpit area, maybe an increase in the sensation you're feeling elsewhere in your body. Just breathe in a way that feels comfortable. You can sigh through your mouth if that feels softening, settling, easeful. Feel the back of your rib cage heavy against your prop. Feel the tissues of your abdomen and front ribs just gently lengthening with each breath cycle. Last few full breaths. To release out of this one, you'll probably want to start by bringing your elbows back alongside you, guiding your knees towards each other. And then a couple of options. You can either roll to one side off of your prop, or if it feels more controlled to you, you can dig down into your elbows and sort of lift yourself up. Whatever you've chosen to do, let your spine settle back down onto the ground. Lengthen your legs. Let your arms flop out. And just notice your spine relatively flat against the floor. You might observe a little more spaciousness in your breath. A different quality to your breath after that chest opener. I'm going to take this into an opening for the sides of your ribcage now, banana pose, named for its shape. Start by walking both of your feet over towards the left side of your mat, or to your left if you're not on a mat. Keep your hips heavy at center. Now walk your shoulders over to that same left side. So if you could see yourself from overhead, you'd see a big C curve, like a banana. You can bring your arms into the equation here, reaching them over you. But remember, your aim is to find a place where you can soften. So let yourself settle and release within this shape. It might be helpful to cross one ankle over top of the other. And you can feel or look for sensation through the entire right side of your body as you settle and breathe here. Inflate and deflate your side bodies with a few more full breaths. Unhook your top ankle. Walk your legs back to center. Lower your arms. Walk your shoulders and spine back to center. Take a couple moments just to splay your body out. Reset and rebound. Eventually walk your feet over to your right. Hips and tailbone stay heavy. Shoulders over towards the right as well. Whether you bring your arms into the equation is entirely up to you. Maybe it's just one arm on this side, so you're feeling a big full stretch through your left side body. Option to cross one ankle over the other really doesn't matter which. Just do what feels good for you. Try to let your eyes be heavy in their sockets, whether they're open or closed. Be really generous with your breathing. And take the time to breathe easily and comfortably. Savor a few more full breaths on this side. And eventually unhook your top ankle, walk your legs back to center. Lower your arms, walk your shoulders and spine back to center. From here, we're going to make our way towards our final resting pose. So I'll offer Shavasana laying on your back. Take the time you need to have any water, to put on a sweater or some cozy socks if you're feeling a little chilly, and to grab any extra supports like pillows for under your thighs or head, or maybe your favorite blanket to wrap yourself in. This is mine. Lucas's grandma crocheted this for us as a wedding gift this past fall. So once you've grabbed what you need to be comfortable, find your way onto your back. Lay your body down into a comfortable shape. It's going to help you take full advantage of rest. You can take off your glasses if you're a glasses wearer. Close your eyes or maybe place something over your eyes to really help you settle in. And to assist with that sense of settling, I'm going to offer a breath practice called box breath or square breath. This is intended as something to explore. If this style of breath doesn't feel comfortable for you, don't do it. Breathe in a way that feels right for your body so you can really enjoy this rest. But if you do want to give it a try, I find it helpful in sort of easing my way deeper and deeper into a restful state. Box breath or square breath is an inhale for a count, and then you hold the inhale for that same count. Then you exhale for the count, and then hold at the bottom of the exhale. So it's a 4-part or square box breath. It might be helpful to bring your hands to your abdomen or rib cage so you can feel your breath's movement. Let's inhale for a count of 3, 2, 1. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 3, 2, 1. Hold at the bottom of the breath for 3, 2, 1. Again, like that. In for 3, 2, 1. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Out for 3, 2, 1. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Okay, a little bit longer this time. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Find your own comfortable rhythm of breath. And allow that ebb and flow to draw you deeper and deeper into stillness and into rest. So if you are feeling really settled where you are, if you can make a little extra time to stay and savor the rest, the ease, the stillness, I would really encourage you to do that. When you are ready to move, you might roll right into bed, depending upon what time you are watching this, whether you're tuning in live or after the fact. But whatever's next in your day, try to carry some of this stillness and patience and care for yourself with you. I know that many of us need a little extra care right now. So let this space that you've cultivated through these shapes, through your breath, through taking some time for yourself, stay with you as you move into whatever's next. And if you enjoyed the class, if you have questions, you can message the studio. My name is Hannah. I'm happy to chat. And classes after the fact are now saved to Instagram TV. So if you tuned in partway through and want to enjoy the class in full, you can head on over to our profile and connect there. Thank you so much, everyone. It's always a treat to practice with you and to feel connected to community, especially now. Have a really great rest of your night.